You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the JandR Nick Show. I'm one half of the crew, Mr. Vic Robinson. We're live right now on KLRNradio.com, where we do this thing every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, I am joined by the more talented, more pleasant half of the crew, Miss Jen Homestead. Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Hanging in there.
Yeah.
I had a moving weekend, and everyone knows how much fun that is.
And by moving, she means literally moving, not one of those, like, emotional weekends. She was actually moving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually moving up lots of stairs. So, but it's really great. We're happy, and I'm glad to kick my feet up and talk to you and have a glass of wine while I pretend like there's not still a million things I need to do, which can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you know, never do today what you can put off till tomorrow.
Well, especially it's just been go, 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 go. So I'm like, okay, I get to go on with Rick. We'll shoot about that's probably a bad word to use right now since there was just bombing, but just kind of talk about everything that's going on. And I can have a glass of wine, which means I'll hang up and want to have another. And then I'll probably just crash early and actually be more functional tomorrow because I'm a little bit delirious right now after this weekend.
Yeah, no, I can relate. But yeah, for those of you who are wondering, when she started to say that she was going to shoot, there's the colloquialism here in the Texas-Oklahoma area that isn't fit for radio, but that was probably not what she was going to say. Basically, shoot the male bovine excrement. And
I can never figure, it doesn't sound right any other way. You can't be like, shoot the crap. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You know, the SH and the SH give it this whole onomatopoeia thing. So I mean, you gotta have it. You know, it doesn't work any other way. So that's why she was like, shoot the. Well, first of all, probably shouldn't say that. Second of all, probably a bad time to say that because of the thing that happened in New York. But you know, speaking of that, I guess we might as well lead off with that because I know we're going to spend some time talking about Trump's tweet and Pocahontas' response and things like that. But first of all, for those of you who weren't aware, there was an attack in New York City again the other day. So actually, it was yesterday. We had somebody decide to try to set off a homemade pipe bomb. So you know, as you know, we do try as much as possible to try to bring you actual news from time to time. So we actually had somebody in the area that actually got the first recorded statement from the terrorist shortly after the incident when he was actually in the hospital. He's still there now, but we do have some recordings of the statement that he gave to one of our illustrious folks here. So we're going to play that right now.
If you must know, I am a horrible suicide bomber. I had a premature detonation.
Okay, so no, seriously, that was not that was not serious journalism. You know, as Trump likes to say, that was fake news. But anyway, all you can really do is make fun of these people, because if not, I just want to go stab them in the throat. And you know, I mean, because, you know, it's Christmas. We should be talking about fun stuff. We should be having fun. We should be talking about, you know, holidays and traditions and things like that. And instead, we're talking about some moron who pledged allegiance to ISIS and tried to blow up people in New York City.
Right, which Oh my gosh. First of all, it's been really annoying to see, and just even in my limited time, I've been able to read a few things or, catch some headlines, catch a little bit of news. The first thing that happened was a bunch of people, first of all, it was the alleged terrorist attack. I'm like, not wanting to say terrorist, of course, that was the first of it. And then after that, it was like, people out there being like, oh, well, he was an idiot and he failed. He was a failed terrorist. So, but let's be really mad about that and call for more travel bans when we've had white Christian terrorists that have killed more people in the last 6 months than anybody else. So, yeah, really focus on the bad Muslims. All he did was blow off his own nuts. And I'm like, okay, first of all, yeah, thank goodness it was a failed attempt. Can you imagine, don't be so snarky about it. Can you imagine if this had been a more successful bombing? It was, the prime time for killing as many people as possible and, just could have been really horrific. And you want to make, what about jokes here? I don't really get it. Sean King was one of the big ones. Sally Cohn was doing it. And then just regular people on CNN and MSNBC. And that is so offensive to me to be like, oh, you know what? This guy didn't succeed, so let's just pretend like it never happened. And let's bring up these other tragedies, which are absolute tragedies. And I still want to know what the heck happened in Vegas. But that's not the emergency at hand. And New York was on lockdown. So, of course, they're going to be still focused on that and figuring out what the motives were and what went wrong so that, we can figure out how to prevent even more. But, gosh, just wearing the politics on the sleeve just has to happen immediately. And by the way, on the other side, too, immediately all of my MAGA people were out being like, this is why we can't have Muslims in this country. And this is why, blah, blah, and so, of course, that's another side of it that gets way too extreme. But everybody went immediately political, and it's just, I'm so over that whenever it comes to something like this that could be a very real emergency.
Yeah, I am too. First of all, I'm glad it was a failed attempt, which is the only reason why we're making fun of it tonight instead of, doing the whole New York City strong thing and everything that usually winds up happening when it's not a failed attempt.
Right.
But
right.
At the same time, I'm just as tired of it as you are because all the people that were like, oh my God, why are you making such a big deal about this? It was a pipe bomb. It didn't even work. And I'm like, it doesn't matter that it didn't work. It's the fact that it's the fact that it was tried. I'm tired of these people thinking that they can basically come into this country, make homemade explosive devices from whatever they want to make them from, and start trying to kill people. We've got to do something to fix this. I don't know how at this point, but we need to do something.
Yes, and it does beg the question to me, and I'm just thinking out loud here. This is not even really conspiracy or anything. I'm just thinking about it. So because he was from Bangladesh, and that's not one of the countries on the terror ban, on the travel ban, I just wonder if this was strategic. If there were more people at play behind this that chose this man to be the one to try this right now, because he wouldn't be from a country on the travel ban. He would have been here for, a decent amount of time to where they could call out, well, see, homegrown. He became radicalized in the U.S. as far as we can tell. So, the problem is the U.S., not Muslims, blah, 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 blah. And then not being from a country on the travel ban and then having it failed. I don't know. It just seems a little too convenient, considering that it happened so soon after more courts upheld more of Trump's ban. So I just kind of wonder a little bit if there's more at play here than just this guy that, didn't succeed.
Oh, I'm sure there is. There always is, but we won't know about it until much, much later.
Right.
Because there's always something. At this point, there will be another shoe that drops somewhere, somehow. We just probably won't know about it for weeks or months later.
Well, and not only that, but once the kind of the fervor about it drops off, then the national media doesn't pick it up as much. And so if you don't read, various publications that might report on the ongoing efforts of an FBI investigation or for local news from an area that has been affected by something like this, then you might not ever know that about some follow-up stuff that have happened. There have been a couple of terrorist attacks within in the months after the media hysteria died down that several relatives ended up being arrested. People were charged with part of the conspiracy and all these things. And we didn't see the follow-up on that. And so then I'll go back and read about a story and I'll be like, wait, hold up. What? I had no idea, because in the first few weeks when it was all over the news 24/7, we didn't have that info, and they didn't have enough evidence to make those arrests yet. And so then it drops off of the national news and we never hear about it again. And so you don't know that they actually did connect a bunch of dots, and they were able to possibly break up a cell, or at least like put a dent in some familial contacts that were, perpetrating this kind of thing. So there are positive things like that out there that come out of some of these investigations, but because it is no longer in, at the top of the hour, every hour on every network, we may never hear about it.
Well, yeah, trust me, the violence is what sells. The aftermath, where they're cleaning up the mess and figuring out who did it, nobody cares about any of that. I mean, unless you're just an absolute news junkie or a history buff or somebody that actually likes to basically take things apart, put them back together, and figure out the whole picture, you don't care. You want your little 30-second news snippet that makes you feel informed, so you can go on about your day, go put your meal, go put whatever you're going to eat for dinner in the microwave, go plop down, turn on another 48 hours episode, and just call it a day.
Yes. And I was going to say, I actually I'm not even saying this as a knock on, there are a lot of things for me to criticize the mainstream media about. I'm not even saying this as a knock on them, because those kinds of things, they aren't of interest, like you said, not near as much. Maybe a few of them every now and then, I think they could revive the story, and it absolutely would be of interest to a lot of people. But without the drama and the hysteria surrounding it, no, it just like, okay, so they got like two guys that were, doing something on the computer that maybe was linked to the bombing, and so they're being charged with some sort of conspiracy that they're going to get 6 years for. It just doesn't really appeal to the public that much. And so I do understand why, and I'm not really faulting the newsrooms for not following up on every single one of those to such an extent. But you do expect that some things will happen, like when people refer to them in their own pieces, or when like Time Magazine will do something where we rehash through like major terrorist events, and then to leave some of those details out of kind of what was achieved from those investigations is pretty egregious to me. But the mainstream media covering it makes total sense. And like you said, it's going to take people like you and me that are news junkies, history junkies, whatever, to follow those stories on our own and keep looking into it. And because there are people writing about them, it's just that it's not going to be flashing across your screen on CNN.
Yeah, I mean, don't misunderstand what I meant. For those of you that are listening, I wasn't necessarily bashing the media at this point either. The simple fact of the matter is the media has become a for-profit business, and they know what sells, so that's what they keep in front of you. So what sells is the instant, who got hurt, what happened, who did it, what do we know, when did we know it, who cares if we're wrong, run with it anyway. And then so the aftermath of that and what happens later, They don't keep up with that, because they know that nobody, after that initial shock wears off and, we know what we know and we move on, or there's another, and when you live your life in a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week news cycle, you realize that there's only so much that your brain can hold. So that's one of the reasons why they hit you with as much as they can every single time that they can, and they try to hit you with as much new information as they can, or whatever the new big flashy headline is. I mean, you see it even on places like Twitter now. It's just boom, breaking news. This is what's going on right now, and then 30 seconds later, they're like, "Oh, that story's old news. That we're on to this one now." And it's because we have the attention span of hamsters. I mean, we really do. As a species, we basically pay attention to stuff for about 4.5 seconds. No,
it's so true. It's so true. But I also think that sometimes what happens with some of these stories, and terrorists or any other, some of what happens with that is that even people that do have the attention span for it or whatever, it's just that some of it gets so convoluted, and they get charged with one thing, but then they get prosecuted for another, and there's deals in place, and so much of it becomes this like legal mumbo jumbo that is just really hard to wade through. And if that's not your field of expertise, it can really become like just burdensome to sort through. And so at the end of the day, you're just like, okay, just tell me what the verdict is, because really truly following all of this stuff. And because especially when you get with international ties, or you have, FBI versus state and local, and, all the people that are trying to charge them versus the federal government trying to charge them. it just can get really murky and really hard to follow, even for the most astute. So some of that, I think, is part of why that just never makes it into anything, because it's like, okay, this is super confusing. There's 5 million players, and if you don't have like not even just a law degree, but a specialty in that kind of law, like you're gonna be lost.
Yeah, no, and well, I mean, and that's part of it too. Say what you want. Since the federal government has actually become involved in the education system, we have a lot of stupid people. And I mean, I'm not saying that to be mean. It's a factual statement. I mean, that's like, just to throw my own state under the bus, because I get some of these statistics because of where my day job is. In the state that I live in, our average reading comprehension for the state is 4th grade. That's terrifying. So then you stop and think about all of these these news sites and news sources that are trying to bring people in to pay attention to them and read them, and you realize that what they have to do is target things not for the intellectual, but for the people, the everyday masses, some of which apparently can barely read past the 4th grade level. I mean, if you really stop and look, you can find the data for every state. There are very few states where people can read at the level of college. If you look at the averages, because there are so many people that just bring the averages way, way down. So that's another problem, is you have these media sources that are trying to make money, and the only way they can make money is to attract people to pay attention to them and read them. But then they basically have to dumb down what they're trying to read or sell so people that have a low reading comprehension can understand it. So again, that comes back to just what you were talking about a second ago. Some of these stories, if they were to put them out the way they needed to put them out, you would need a law degree to understand them. And that's another reason why they just don't. After so long, the story dies. They move on to something else, and there's something else that grabs everybody else's attention. The only thing that I've seen that's different than that lately is the Sean Hannity show. I don't listen to him often. I really have stopped pretty much altogether since he went completely on board the Trump train. I really only kind of tune in to him from time to time. But I checked him out for a few minutes today on the ride home, because I was like, well, I wonder if he's talking about anything that I might want to discuss on my show. 30 seconds into his program, he's still talking about the email scandal on the Hillary server and all the Russian ties to Hillary. And I'm like, dude, even I'm bored with this stuff. Why are you still talking about it?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, granted, he's been doing this a lot longer than me, makes tons of money at it. I guess people must like to listen to it. But I don't know. One thing that 2016 has taught me is I'm done with the echo chamber.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? I had started, because I've never like religiously listened to anyone. I just always listened when I could, and when I was driving, or like when I was in college, I was in between classes and walking to class, walking from class. But I've tried not to write, Russian Hannity completely off in that room, because I do think, because even though I didn't sit there and like put Never Trump in my name and like get super volatile about it with people, I was pretty solidly Never Trump. And that didn't mean that I wouldn't give a chance or be open or whatever, but I absolutely, he was, out of all of the candidates, the last one that I would want in our primary. And then even going into November, to me, I just like shoot me in the head, because both of them just made me want to vomit, thinking that we have these choices for president. So it was very Never Trump in that sense. But I also defended what was right and what wasn't at various times. So for me, I just think that like when we come, now I can't even articulate what I want to say. And I totally lost my train of thought. Way to go, Jen. I went off on my tangent about how I was very Never Trump and then blah, blah, blah. But so yeah, I'm done.
Well, I mean, all of us, most of us.
Put a hole in me. I'm like, what the hell? Just totally lost where I was going with that. But anyways.
It happens. Welcome to old age.
Goodness. That was silly.
Or wine-induced dementia, take your pick.
Well, considering I've only had a couple sips, I sure hope not. Otherwise, it's going to be a rough night.
I was just kidding. I'm a little jealous because I actually have a beer waiting on me when the show's done. But, so I mean, back to what you were saying a second ago about Never Trump. A lot of us, that run in the same circles that we're still in, that haven't gone completely one way or the other, were really staunchly Never Trump during the primary and all the way up through the end of the election. And I still know people that are. I mean, and I still talk to them on a regular basis. See, I knew if I prattled on.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes. Okay. I remembered. So what I was going to say was, I haven't completely tuned out like the Hannitys, the Ingrams, even though she has me blocked on Twitter, so I can't see what she says on Twitter. But on their shows, on just when I'm driving and it's on on AM radio, Rush Limbaugh, whatever. I've tried not to be like, I won't listen at all if I happen to have the opportunity to, because I do think that in the same way that we complain about liberals not being in touch or not really understanding conservatives, not understanding the common man. I kind of want to listen to them some. The TV show stuff makes me gag, but the radio show, at least there's a little bit more going on there. And so I feel like I kind of need to listen, not only because of what you and I do together, but doing radio and, writing and whatever else and being constant commentators of politics, but also to kind of hear that other side and that perspective, the one that I often only get screamed at about on Twitter, and it's like super MAGA, 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 and I can't hear a point come across, and hear that spoken by people, on the right that did support Trump, that were pretty much all in for him once the primaries ended. And then people that I respected that, not just Hannity and stuff, but people that they would have on that would talk about the dilemma and how they were still going to support him because of these things and all that. And I think that it was important for me to do that the same way that I think it's important to dive into some, liberal media outlets at times. I think it's important for liberals to listen to some of the conservatives at times and just kind of keep your mind open about it all and keep in touch with what's going on in those movements to be able to better understand and also better argue your own points. So figuring out what you disagree with and why is really important, and it's hard to do on Twitter, but I think it's a lot easier to do when you're listening to someone on the radio or watching an in-depth program.
Yeah, the one thing that I always try to do is I will normally try to do my best to basically try to get the same story from multiple sources. Because the one thing that I have figured out is everybody has a bias anymore. There used to be this thing called journalism ethics that was part of, Journalism 101. I don't think anybody teaches that anymore. Either that or if they do, maybe it's become an elective because it seems like nobody really has that anymore. Because one of the things they always taught in the ethics portion of journalism was that you were not to bring your own biases into the story. Now, I know that is almost impossible, but with enough training, you can get to the point where you do your best to shoot down the center of an argument. And that's what journalists used to be trained to do. And I'm not talking about folks like me that are color commentators, pundits, whatever you want to call those. I understand that I'm not a journalist, but at the same time, I have actually had some of the training to be a journalist. I just opted not to be one. I actually am familiar with some of the writing styles that they use, etc. I've had some of the training informally because I've worked around people that were journalists. So I mean, I picked up some of the tools of the trade, some of the things that they do, and that's one of the major differences that I think I've seen over about the last 20 years is just this complete falling away of the story is all, the truth about the story is all. Now it's all about the clicks. And that's one of the things that's been driving me crazy. And it's just one of those things where, the same thing happens with people on Twitter now because, it's all about my side of the story, my side of the argument, your side doesn't matter. And, that's what you need to do is make sure that when you get a story, if you find something that you read on one particular site and you're not sure if it's giving you the entire story, try to find another site that maybe leans the other direction with the same story. Because the one thing that you'll find, if you can find the same story, usually from maybe a conservative-leaning site, liberal-leaning site, and maybe kind of a libertarian news site, so you're getting all three perspectives, you're going to find the truth is usually somewhere in between all of those. Because the truth is in there, but you're going to have to get through everybody's different slants to find it.
Right. Hey, breaking news.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep.
Doug Jones has won in Alabama.
I was actually about to say that it looked like it was about to go that way.
He beat Roy Moore. However, this is the New York Times. I mean, they have just gone full-on opinion on everything now. Here's how they announced it. Breaking news. The Democrat Doug Jones won in Alabama. The upset trims the GOP Senate majority to 1 and is a snub of President Trump, who backed Roy Moore. As if he has any idea if that's why people voted that way, or if it truly is. I don't know. It's just that's their headline. Instead of breaking news, the Democrat Doug Jones wins over Roy Moore in Alabama, cutting GOP Senate majority to 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is.
Ah, jeez.
Well, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I'm really kind of glad that he lost, because I started seeing all these memes that were going to come out that everybody was starting to use with the whole Republican elephant, with the Trump, like, grabbing a girl around the neck and saying that if he wins, Roy Moore will be the new head of, or basically the new face of the Republican Party. And I'm just like, I'm so over this. Makes me glad I'm not a Republican anymore, to be honest, because I'm just.
Oh my gosh. That. Well, I'm never happy for a baby killer to win, but I just don't know how the GOP could have Roy Moore in the Senate. I just don't know how that could happen, and then that would be a whole nother mess of removal. So I don't know. Maybe this just played out the best. And bottom line is, people of Alabama came out and voted, and that's their business. It's not ours.
Well, the AP wasn't much more diplomatic than the New York Slimes. Breaking: Democrat Doug Jones won election to the U.S. Senate from Alabama, and a sharp blow to President Trump that narrows GOP's majority in the Senate to 2. He beat Roy Moore, a former Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court who has been accused of sexual misconduct.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, it goes back to what I said. And honestly, you can go back and you can listen to the tape tonight. I honestly still thought Moore was gonna pull it off. But I also said that I was pretty sure it was going to be within about a 2-point margin, and there was going to be it was probably going to come down about 2 points. I thought he would pull it off by about 2 percentage points, and then basically a plus or minus 3. So, I mean, I'm still technically within the margins of what I predicted, but I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, see, when you take into account the plus or minuses, I was still kind of right, even though I said more. But the thing that matters with this is this goes back to what I said when this story first came out. I told everybody that would listen to me that Roy Moore, if this was really about the Republican Party at this point, Roy Moore would step aside, let someone else get put on the ticket and say, look, we don't have time to change the ballots, but when you pick my name, when you select my name, you'll be voting for this guy. Now I'm going to go off in the courts and fight this until I get it resolved, and then I'll come back and see if I can basically make a political career for myself at a later time. If this was about the party, that's what should have happened, but it didn't happen. So now we have a Democratic senator in a completely red state. I mean, I don't even, other than the fact that it's cut the majority by 1, which, I mean, really doesn't impact anything at all, because if you count the fact that the vice president votes Senate, it still makes the majority a vote a 2. If there's ever a tie, I mean, because he still has to vote. So, I mean, I don't understand the logic of all of this, because, and honestly, I've said this before, if it were me, especially if I knew I didn't do these things, the first thing I would have done is been like, look, this isn't about me right now, so I'm going to take the spotlight off of myself. I'm going to basically go back to the governor and say, you need to put somebody else in my place, and then I'm going to go off and I'm going to fight this to prove to you guys that I didn't do this stuff. Because one of the things that made this worse was him being constantly in the spotlight. The other thing that made it worse was, just like you had talked about before and I had talked about before, you don't go on national TV and say, but I always ask their parents' permission if you didn't do these things. Duh.
Well, you also just don't ever give a clear, solid, firm no. He never acted put out about it. He never acted... there was never this, it was all of this running around with a lot of words. There was never just this, no, absolutely not. No, I did not do that. I would never do that. Absolutely not. It was, that doesn't quite sound like me and my preferences and character. Like, what do you mean it doesn't, it either is or it isn't you? It doesn't sound like you? Well, do you not remember your own dang life? I know that things get fuzzy after a little while, but dating teenagers probably isn't one of those things that just goes away.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, my biggest thing about it, because
I asked their mother.
we still don't know for sure if he did these things, but his reactions on the Sean Hannity show when he went on there, told me everything that I needed to know. It does. I mean, at this point, he did something. Because the first thing that you do, if you didn't do something, you flat out come out and say, you know what, those accusations are bold-faced lies and I didn't do it. Hell, half the time, even if you did do it, people are smart enough to at least make a blatant no. I mean, not just,
right.
That doesn't seem like something that I would do. Like it was, maybe putting on a red sock with a white sock one day. Well, no, that's not like me. I don't ever mismatch my socks. That doesn't seem like something I would do. So you're basically telling me that dating a teenager doesn't seem like something you would do? Because the fact that you said seem means that there's at least a part of you that thinks it might be likely. Sorry, that's my psychology training rearing its ugly head again. So, what can I say?
Yep.
But anyway, we are about due for the break. Actually, we're a bit long. We'll be right back. We're going to pay some bills. This is JandR and Rick. We'll be right back right here on KLRNradio.com, where liberty and reason still reign. And where apparently Alabama now has a Democratic senator. I'm pretty sure he's going to get... Good thing they spend most of their time in D.C. now, because I'm pretty sure he'd get run out of town on a rail. Just saying. There we go. All right. Well, I say that. It says it's playing. Hang on. I'm having one of those moments, folks. Give me a second here.
Ask not what your country can...
Okay, so now I got something to start playing, but it was the wrong something. All right, we're going to take a break now that I figured out why the board was going nuts. We'll be right back.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
right, folks, welcome back. This is Jen and Rick. We are live right now on KLRMradio.com. So for those of you who missed the memo, America Off the Rails will not be on after the show. We've actually moved that one. It's now Tuesdays through Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. I've had some folks asking about it. Sorry I missed a couple of you guys tweeting about it, but I'm glad the station account picked it up. Also, for those of you wondering, the show is available on just about every other podcast site, kind of like this one. It's pretty much everywhere that it is possible to have a podcast. We're either there or working on getting there. One of the things I always encourage folks to do, though, if you do like the show, especially if you prefer listening to podcast versions, pick your favorite one and make sure you tell your friends about it. Also, if you can, subscribe to it, rate it if you can, especially on like iHeart or iTunes, because I know those are options there. We're actually working on trying to raise the profiles on the shows that we have over there now, so we would appreciate some assistance there. Now, we were talking a little bit before the break about the fact that it appears that Alabama has elected a Democratic senator for the first time in I can't remember when. And of course now Chucky Schumer's all about, well, this really, he's going to be a great senator, but the bottom line is there's two things that we know. The other guy was a terrible person, never should have gotten anywhere near the Senate, and we're focused on making sure that everybody has a better life for those folks that are struggling or trying to get to the middle class or are already there. So, I'm pretty sure we just said right before we went to break that they were going to try to spin this. Well, they've already started.
Yeah, I said that, just mark my words, they're going to make this be a thing about how it's not so much about the scandal and rejecting this possible pervert. It's going to be about how, it's actually a rejection of the administration. It's, holding the GOP accountable in their agenda. I just saw Vox, V-O-X, not F-O-X. Vox just put out, that pretty much that exact thing. It's not really about the scandal. It's about a complete, rejection of the toxically unpopular Trump and GOP agenda. Well, first of all, if Jones had won in a really overwhelming landslide, then maybe you could kind of argue that point a little bit. But this has been neck and neck the entire time, and so toxically unpopular is a bit melodramatic for me. And also, if Moore had won, then it would have all been about how, the GOP is totally cool with pervs and the voters are horrible people because they overlooked something or didn't believe the women. And now that he is, by all accounts, losing, then wait, hush, that's not really what it's about. It's not about how they rejected some creep or pervert. It's about how Trump and the right are utterly failing, and that's who this rejection is of. It's a rejection of the entire right. And people hate Republicans now. And, just hush up about that predator stuff. We don't really care. We know they didn't vote on that. They voted against Trump. That's all they did. It's so obnoxious.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse because the problem is now they're going to string together what happened in Virginia now with what happened in Alabama, and they're going to use that and be like, this is our sign. Things are turning. Look, folks, little history newsflash for those of you that may not pay attention to these type of things. It is really, really common practice for the party that is in power to lose seats during a midterm. So we already knew this was coming in most cases. The only thing that could have stopped it at this point is if we had been able to do more of the things that the conservatives and the Republicans told the American people that they were going to do for the last 8 years. They haven't been able to do it because they can't stop fighting with themselves long enough because they don't like Trump.
Absolutely.
This is part of what is making me crazy. Because, look, I get it. I didn't vote for the man either, but he's president of the United States. He is a Republican, even if it is basically in name only, and he was trying to do what he told the American people that he was going to do. He's already trying to reform taxes. He's tried to do something about Obamacare, which is the two things that the Republicans are always talking about, but they're fighting him tooth and nail on every aspect of it because it's Trump, and Trump can't be the new head of the party. Well, I got news for you, folks. He's already the head of the party. He was that once you gave him the nomination. Because even if he hadn't become president, he was still going to be the ranking Republican because he was the last one to win the nomination. So that ship has sailed. So we're watching everything implode all around us because you guys can't stop whining and gnashing your teeth long enough to realize that at this point, this isn't about your party anymore. This isn't about your feelings anymore. This isn't about being able to make sure that somebody that has the letter behind their name that you support identifies with every single aspect of everything that you believe in, because that's not what politics has ever been about. Reagan once said that someone who is 80% your ally is not 20% your enemy. They're 80% your ally. So Trump, in a lot of ways, is doing what the GOP said they've always wanted to do, and now they're fighting him every step of the way. So now my question is, do they ever actually want to do these things, or was it lip service to us, just like all these African-American folks are getting lip service to the Democrats? Because you know what? One of the things that I just saw that was a true statement on this Alabama Senate hashtag was a black person pointing out the fact that black people win votes for Democrats and they need to stop ignoring them. Because if you look at the numbers, one of the reasons the Democrats carried the day in Alabama today was because the black vote came out, and they came out in numbers. That's what just happened. That's why they won. So this guy's like, look, we win elections for you. Stop ignoring us. I'm about to start saying the same thing to the conservatives, because we win elections for you. Stop ignoring us. You keep telling us what you're going to do when you get in there, but then we finally give you everything you said you needed, including the guy that you wanted at the top of the ticket, and now you won't do any of it. Sorry, I'm angry.
Yeah, I hear you. I was just basically listening and nodding and going, yeah, preach it. I mean, it is. I don't know, something like this. I don't really know what it's about. When we were just saying about how if they'd elected them, then the voters are horrible people and they're cool with perverts. If they don't, then they dismiss the rejection of this supposed pedophile. Pretend like whatever. That's not even why they did it. So they're still kind of painting these people as horrible people, right? Because they're saying like, well, what we really think it is y'all are rejecting Trump's policies and the rights agenda. And it wasn't so much about rejecting the creep, when really that might be a lot of the reason that they were rejecting it. I saw a lot of Alabama people that are Trump supporters that were not cool with Roy Moore. So it very well, could be that, and has to be at least a big chunk of it. So the problem is, like you said about listening to us, listening to actual conservatives, like the people that decided to go in for this guy anyways, and let's forget the accusations. He's not a good candidate anyways. His past is littered with trouble. When you're removed from a judgeship and then you want to be the U.S. senator, this was already a bad move from the get-go. So, and Trump backed him. He's backed several other bad ones, and that's just going to be Trump, though. I can't put too much stock in that, and I don't think a lot of people do. I know there are some people that'll do whatever Trump says, but that's not the majority of the conservative population or the GOP population. So I just think that, if the Alabama GOP, if even the local GOPs and the federal GOP, not federal, but national GOP, would listen to those of us that it got so mad at for rejecting Trump in the first place and not wanting him to be our candidate, and didn't wanted our states to rebel at the conventions. If they would stop treating us like hostile enemies and maybe listen a little bit more, then we might have some better outcomes in these upcoming elections, and not keep repeating the mistakes of, like you said, West Virginia and Alabama.
But I mean, and that's the whole thing for me, because I remember, because we were all the ones going, you know what, there's still a chance, because they can actually do this thing at the RNC that would basically swing things going in another direction, and we were all talking about how that could happen and should happen. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. So these people that are now fighting Trump tooth and nail are the ones that did everything they could to make sure that he was the one that got the nomination. So my question with that is, if you can't work with the guy now that he's in there, were you supporting him because you knew he was going to lose and because you really wanted to be working with Hillary Clinton? Because that's the only logical outcome for me, because you turned your back on everybody that said this isn't the guy that we want, and you wanted him, so you made sure you got him, but now you can't work with him. And we're all suffering because of it. We're losing seats because of you guys' inaction. we're losing seats because we keep putting. I mean, we're doing worse with candidate selection than the Democrats are. For God's sake, now I just saw Hillary Clinton tweeting about how Alabamans have made a great choice and this is going to be good for Democrats and good for us. And I'm like, who's us? You lost to a terrible candidate. Donald Trump was a terrible candidate, and you lost.
Terrible.
To him. And this is the thing that nobody talks about anymore. Not only was it the guy that the Republicans wanted, because that's who they wanted her to run against, but it was also the guy that she wanted. Every email, the scrap of information that we could find, they were salivating about Donald Trump becoming the candidate because they knew that they were going to be able to beat him at the polls. Well, the problem is, they may have been wrong about beating him the first time, but now they're beating him in the long game because now the establishment Republicans and the Democrats are beating the crap out of him every day, 6 ways from Sunday, and he's standing up to a lot of it, but we're the ones taking the beating at the polls because they keep putting up these morons like Roy Moore. Roy Moore was a bad candidate from Jump Street, period. I mean, it's like you said, he was removed not once but twice from the state Supreme Court.
Right.
This didn't just
right.
happen once.
I don't know how in anyone's right mind they thought that this was a good idea. And all of these people being like, oh, well, he's a godly man and this and that. I mean, just BS. I'm sorry. When are people going to open up their freaking eyes and see politicians for who they are? You can like some of their policies. You can like some of their positions. Quit worshiping them like freaking gods and acting like they all portray like the most purest of hearts, and that somehow they are the saving grace for your party, your state, your nation, whatever. They're not. Quit falling into the same old trap. Treat them with the utmost skepticism and almost outright hostility, honestly. I mean, in your mind, I'm not talking about calling them names on Twitter. I'm just saying, like, think of them as the enemy who you hope to be able to gain something from, to strike a deal with, to get something that you want and you need, and quit pretending like they're going to solve all of your problems or that they are of some higher moral character and live on some pedestal. It is absolutely disgusting, and it is becoming more and more the downfall of this country and our political environment from Democrat to Republican. You've got liberals and conservatives, or supposed conservatives and liberals, putting these people up on a freaking throne and crowning them with gold. And it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's completely nonsensical, and it's going to screw us right into the ground.
Oh, I don't know. I'm beside myself right now because I'm seeing all this stuff that started to come out about all these people that are taking their little victory laps and they're doing this and they're doing that. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm over all of it at this point. Because, look, the simple fact of the matter is, even if these results are ratified, because he won by a large enough margin that there won't be a recount, but they still have to certify each county's numbers. He won't actually even be sworn in until sometime in January, which still gives them ample time to do everything that they've been trying to do, because they still have a couple of weeks left before they've got what? I think 7-8 days before they leave for Christmas break. I think I may be losing track because days are running together. But I know that they are still trying to push the tax cuts and do a few other things. But again, none of that matters, because if they really wanted this stuff done, they've had since January to get it done, and they haven't done any of it. We're now coming up to Trump being actually sworn in for almost a full year. And he's barely been able to accomplish anything because it's been bad press coverage from wall to wall. It's been him acting like a moron on Twitter from wall to wall. Everything that he does that could give him even 1 ounce of positive spin, he has to make an ass out of himself with it, like the Pocahontas comment when he had the code talkers in the Oval Office. That could have been a great moment for him, and he couldn't even get out of his own way. This is all coming back to exactly what I've said since day one. This man was a terrible candidate, not the best choice, and we're all paying for it now. But the thing that I know I'm repeating myself here, but I'm just trying to make people understand how frustrating this is, because these people that are not working with him now are the ones that wanted him there. So why are they not working with him now? This is the part that I don't understand, because to me, it tells me that, because everybody's talking about all the collusion and all the weird things that have come out during this election, I'm really starting to think that there was some major collusion between the really, really deeply entrenched people in both parties, because their behavior since this election has not made any sense to me. Not at all. Because it's like they all decided there was going to be this foregone conclusion that Hillary Clinton was going to be president if they put this guy up on the altar of sacrifice, and it didn't happen. So since it didn't happen, they're like, we're just not, he's an ass. We're not going to work with him. But you stopped us from putting somebody else up there.
Oh, nothing makes me more angry than to think about that, actually.
I mean, honestly, it's something that I have kept myself from thinking about because of how angry it makes me. But you know me, I'm one of these people that I look at the pieces and I start putting them together, and there's only one logical conclusion here. They wanted him there because they wanted him to lose. And now that he didn't, they're going to tear him apart to make sure that the Democrats get it the next time.
Yes.
Everybody wanted that. There's no other way this makes sense. None.
You know what else everybody loves and wants is a good kind of a good kind of girl fight. So we've been really mad and ranty, but can we talk real quick about how Elizabeth Warren called Kirsten Gillibrand a slut?
Oh yes, please, let's change subjects because I know I've burned up most of the show with my rant. So.
No, I went off too. I'm saying let's end it on a kind of funny note where they totally burn themselves. So Trump goes out and says, lightweight Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a total flunky for Chuck Schumer and someone who would come to my office begging for campaign contributions not so long ago and would do anything for them, is now in the ring fighting against Trump. Very disloyal to Bill and crooked used, which all of that is just so weird. But, immediately all of these people on the left jump to the fact that he is implying that she was begging with sexual favors or would try to offer sexual favors, which I'm just not really sure why any normal person talking about a senator would think, and even a female senator would think that that's what that meant or where that's going, as opposed to like sacrificing their political principles, their constituents, forsaking their constituents, trading favors. I'll vote for this if you do that. And if you can get me the money, then I'll be supportive of these policies. And, so an entirely different kind of dirty whore, right? And good old Liz Warren, Pocahontas herself, comes out and says, are you really trying to bully, intimidate, and slut shame Senator Gillibrand? Do you know who you're picking a fight with? Good luck with that, Donald Trump.
Apparently
nevertheless, hashtag she persisted. And I'm like, you might be picking a fight with Kirsten yourself because like fat shamed, it means that you're fat. That's why they're shaming you. So slut shame means she is a slut and you know it. And that's why he's shaming her. So she just called her a slut.
Yeah. And the sad thing is I would say I'm not even sure she realized that she did it, but the simple fact of the matter is, as well as I do, that she knows it. And that's why her mind immediately went there, because she knows. But see, it's just like, you were saying, sacrificing your constituents, backroom deals, etc. I was thinking, sell your soul to the devil, sacrifice a chicken,
Sure, even that. My mind still was not like, hey, she's looking for a good BJ. She's going to give a good BJ in order to get campaign contributions from someone who wants, I don't know. I was like, why they all jumped to that as they just took the bait. If he even dangled it to where they could possibly interpret it like that, then they just jumped right on it in order and put words there that weren't there and made it seem so, they just read into it so much. And even if that's what he intended was for them to be able to kind of go off the deep end on it, well, that's still on them for being so freaking stupid about it.
It's just the whole thing of, I thought the same exact thing that you did, because I read Trump's tweet and I'm like, well, first of all, as usual, he barely makes any sense because the end of that tweet was really, really weird. Second of all, I'm not exactly sure what he meant by that, but I can think of a few things, none of which were sexual. And then I read Liz Warren going, are you trying to slut shame her? Do you have any idea who you're picking a fight with? And I'm like, well, apparently, madam, he's picking a fight with a slut because you just said so.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It seems like this is like the prime. It's like a, right for the girl fight here. And I just wish they'd go back and forth on Twitter about it and be like, hey, Liz, maybe next time get your woke intern to, explain to you what slut shaming means before you go telling someone that they're slut shaming me and calling me a slut in the meantime.
Well, I would say if they were younger, maybe they could Twitter fight with pillows, but they're a little old for that. So anyway, we are just about officially out of time. So on the way out, why don't you remind folks where they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me?
I am at J Homestead on Twitter, JR Homestead on Facebook, and check out misfitspolitics.com. Tomorrow night's the Misfit Gift Challenge. So join us for a bunch of silly gifts for about an hour, and then, let Twitter resume to its awfulness.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I'm thinking maybe you guys should extend that a little bit more tomorrow night, just as like just kind of a mourning period for Alabama, because when you had to choose between Roy Moore and a Democrat, and you wound up picking the Democrat. See, that's the thing, and this is something else that kind of solidified a few things for me. I don't think that, because you got to realize these are the people that they know Roy Moore. He's been a Supreme Court justice and the head of their Supreme Court on at least 2 separate occasions. He's been around their circles politically. So these are the people that know him. So if they didn't vote for him and they didn't come out to support him, that tells me that there's probably more here than just accusations. Just saying.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And that's why I said I'm going to leave it up to them instead of, being the guy from Oklahoma yelling, "I don't vote for Roy Moore." I'm like,
don't you dare.
I'm like, I don't know the guy, but they will know him, and they'll be the ones that will decide who needs to represent them. And they'll be the ones that have to face the backlash for it if it does come out later that he actually was these things that they have said that he was. But, I'm just going to say it. I think they may, as much as I don't want, somebody who favors abortion up until basically the second they pop out, I think for the short term they made the right decision, because this could have irrevocably damaged the GOP in Alabama for decades if Roy Moore had gotten the nomination and those things had come out to be true. But that's just me.
Absolutely. I think that it's a big mess. I think they never should have nominated him in the first place. They shouldn't have primaried him. And so all of this could have been avoided. But he was a terrible candidate from the get-go. These accusations, and I'm sorry, I just feel like they're fairly credible if you really read through all of the stories. They are documented and sourced going back decades and decades and decades from multiple people that knew these women. And it just seems a little too... just too much to not at least have some sort of truth to it. And so in a way, I don't know that this isn't maybe the best thing for the GOP, because they were acting like this was a referendum on the GOP and not a referendum on the GOP. I mean, a referendum for the GOP. Will we accept this kind of thing and shove it under the rug and still nominate them, or will we not? And I think Franken's resignation was hinging on whether Moore won or not. And so now I think he'll be forced to resign for sure. And I just think that it as bad as it sounds, and I hate for it to be this way, but I just don't think that was a mark that the GOP could survive, could wear.
No, it wouldn't have been, because, like it or not, because the Democrats aren't any better. But when we start basing our elections and our victories off of, does it matter how low we sink because we're still better than the Democrats at the end of the day? That's a problem for me. It's always been a problem for me. That's why Trump was not my first choice, because I felt like that was the beginning of us, deciding that at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure we got a victory more than we wanted to make sure that we put somebody in the office that could actually do the job and do it well. Now, in some ways, Trump has made me rethink that, because I think he really is trying to do a good job, but he can't get out of his own way enough. And that's the thing. At some point, because remember, this was the guy that used to yell at Barack Obama and yell about Barack Obama on Twitter for 8 years, never leaving campaign mode. Donald Trump, for the first year he's been in office, has not left campaign mode. He's never actually just sat down and said, okay, now I have a job to do and I'm going to get it done. Let's not forget how often he made fun of Barack Obama for being on a golf course or being away from the White House on the weekends at a resort, while he's now doing the same thing. That is a problem for me. It always has been a problem for me. But, and going back to all of this that we've been talking about tonight, the biggest thing for me is there's two things that 2016 and now 2017 have taught me. The Republicans had no intention of doing half the things that they told us they were going to do to get us to elect them again. and they also basically handpicked the candidate, rammed him down our throats, and then decided now they don't want to work with him because they don't like him. All because they really don't care what gets fixed or how it gets fixed, because it all goes back to what I've said basically from the day I started this. If the government actually concentrated on trying to fix what it broke, eventually we wouldn't need the government anymore, and they know that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But on that note, we are officially overtime, so we are going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to tune in. I will be back with you tomorrow night. There will be fresh content. It will not be live. It will run as live, but I won't actually be back in time to do the show, I don't think. I have to go yell at a man about my property taxes, and I'm not quite sure how long that's going to take. But we'll see you on Thursday, and I'll be back with you again live on Thursday as well. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Tuesday evening. Thank God it's no longer Monday. We'll see you when we see you. Take care. God bless. I'm going to go open a beer. Jen's going to drink some more wine. We'll be back later.